Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Okay.
Everyone has it? Everyone found it? Jamuna puline, Kodambo kanane, Kiherinu, Sokiajo. Jamuna puline, Kadamba kanane, Amashamo bangshi dari, Moni moncho pori, Ihakeni rasarajo. Moni mancha pari lila kore rasarajo. Jamuna pulide Kodambo kanone Kiherinu soki ajo. Taro ashtadalo pari Sri Radha Sri Hari Ashta Saki Parijana. Taro ashtadalo pari Sri Radha Sri Hari Ashta Saki Parijana. Ami jamuna puline, Kodambo kanone, Kiherinu soki ajo. নাথনে সবি সখী গণে তুষিছে যুগল দানে তার সুগীত নাথনে সব সখী গণে তুষিছে যুগল দানে তখন কৃষ্ণ লীলা হেরি প্রকৃতি সুন্দরী বিস্তারিছে শোভাবানে তখন কৃষ্ণ লীলা হেরি প্রকৃতি সুন্দরী বিস্তারিছে শোভাবানে আমি যমুনা পুরিলে কদম্ব কাননে বিহেরিনু সখিয়াজ আমি করে না যাইব বনে প্রবেশিব হলিলায় রাস থারে আমি গড়ে না যাইব মনে প্রবেশিব হলিল রাসের তারে আমি চাচি কুলরাজ গজ গজরাজ বিনোদে মিনতে করে আমি চাচি কুলরাজ গজ গজরাজ বিনোদে মিনতে করে যমুনা পুরিলে কদম্ব কাননে বিহেরিনু সখী আজ আমি যমুনা পুরিলে কদম্ব কাননে বিহেরিনু সখী আজ বিহেরিনু সখী আজ হরি বল So this is a wonderful song by Bhaktivinoda Thakur. It's written in the mood of a manjari. Well, as if he's speaking as a manjari, speaking to another manjari. He says, "Oh Sakhi, my dear girlfriend, what have I seen today? In a Kodamba grove on the banks of the Jamuna, I saw a beautiful blackish boy holding a long Vamsi flute, seated upon a throne of jewels, performing his pastimes as the king of all transcendental mellows. Rasaraj, he's the king of love." Situated upon the 8 petals of that jeweled altar is Sri Radha and Sri Hari, surrounded by their attendants, the 8 principal gopis, 8 chief gopis, like we have in the temple. in the main temple. Astasaki. By singing sweet songs and dancing nicely, all the gopis satisfy the treasured divine couple. Thus I am beholding Krishna's pastimes with his beautiful female consorts expanding throughout the splendorous forest. For the sake of the mellows of such pastimes, I will not go back to my home, but I will instead enter into the forest, renouncing all shyness due to fear of family members. Just worship the Lord of Braj. This is the humble submission of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has said, Ramya Kachid Upasana Brajabadu. There is no better method of worship than what was conceived by the gopis of Braj. They only wanted to satisfy Krishna. So you don't see that anywhere else. Therefore he says they're the topmost devotees. And back to my home and renouncing all shyness due to fear of family members. When Krishna played his flute and called them, they each heard their own names in the flute. Krishna was such a master of the flute that all gopis heard, and they all left their homes individually. They didn't bother to see if my neighbor is coming. Actually, I just read earlier today, Prabhupada said, we have to surrender to Krishna individually. He said, you can, if you want to, you can become Krishna conscious, if you want to, and nobody can check you. It is ahaituki apratihata. And he said, just like an airplane, if an airplane is in the sky and it has some trouble, no other airplane can help him. So he said, so you have to fly your own plane. You have to surrender individually. In the beginning you will need help, of course. That's why Prabhupada formed this society of devotees, to help you along. But still, it is on you to surrender to Krishna. You cannot say, well, I will only surrender if my husband surrenders, or I'll only surrender if my wife surrenders, or if so and so. No, you have to go. When it's time to go, when you hear that flute sound, that call of Krishna, you just go. Yes. Bhaktisiddhanta used to refer to this calling of Krishna as a clarion call. In a simple way, when we wanted to come and join Prabhupada's mission, it was a calling. And very quickly I realized nobody else, except for the devotees, nobody else, none of my family members, none of my friends, none of my co-workers, they didn't understand. And I realized, I have to do this alone. I have to go and join. So gopis, on one tape, Srila Prabhupada was speaking, that when they heard, they just stopped whatever they were doing. Someone was cooking on the stove, just dropped the spoon in the pot, head for the door. Some was feeding their husband, and mother-in-law was there. Some was nursing their baby. But once they heard that call, they headed for the door, and it's night. So their parent, the family members said, "Where are you going, girl? It's dark outside. Where are you going? You know, just think of the Braj. You know, where are you going?" And Prabhupada said in a very charming way, they said, "Don't you hear his flute?" But they couldn't, I guess. So here he says, family members, I renounce all of that. We have to do that to come to Krishna consciousness. Because where is our real home? It's not here in the material world. Our home is in the spiritual world. We are spirit souls in the material world, but our homes, we don't belong here. But on account of identification with these bodies, we think, my home. My home is in Russia. My home is in America, or England, or wherever. Africa, that is my home. No. The body takes birth in these places, but you are not this body. And Lord Chaitanya was a sannyasi, most strict sannyasi, and he is saying that these gopis, they are the best devotees. Their surrender is unmatched. So, Ami Jamuna Puline Kodam Bokhanone Don't look. Well, go to Narottam Das Thakur and we can sing Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu. Okay, we shall do Jive Daya Kori. Haven't sung that in a while. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu, Jive Daya Kori. This is the, Bhaktivinoda Thakur has a book, a collection of songs known as Sharanagati. And this is the first song of Sharanagati. Hey, why is It's not here? Doya Karamore, where is Jive Doya? Oh yes, it is Bhaktivinoda Thakur. It's not Narottam Das Thakur. I'm looking on the Narottam and I'm not seeing it. It's Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu, Jive Doya Kari. The other one, Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu, Doya Karamore, that is Narottam. We can do that also. Okay. Okay. Oi. What is going on here? Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Jive Doya Kari Swapashada Striyadhama Sahayavatadi Kana Prabhu Jive Doya Kari Swapashada Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Jive Doya Kari Sapashada Sriyadhama Sahayavatari Atyanta dulabha prema koribar dana Atyanta dulabha prema koribar dana Shikhaya Sharanagati Bhakatera Prana Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Jive Doya Kari Sapashada Sriyadhama Sahayavatari Sriyadhama Dainya Atmani Vedana Utritve Varana Atmani Vedana Utritve Varana Avashyara Vishvasapalana. Avasya Rakshide Krishna Vishvasapalana. Krishna Caitanya Prabhu Hridaya Kori Tapashada Sriyadama Sahayavatari. Tapashada Bhakti Anukula Matra Kajera Svikara. Bhakti Anukula Matra Kajera Svikara. Bhakti Prati Kula Bhava Bhajanangikara. Bhakti Prati Kula Bhava Bhajanangikara. Krishna Caitanya Prabhu Hridaya Kori Tapashada Sriyadama Sahayavatari. Shadanga Sharanagati Hoibe Jahara. Shadanga Sharanagati Hoibe Jahara. Tahara Pratana Shune Srinanda Kumara. Tahara Pratana Shune Srinanda Kumara. Krishna Caitanya Prabhu Hridaya Kori Tapashada Sriyadama Sahayavatari. Sanatana Pade Dante Trinakori. Rupa Sanatana Pade Dante Trinakori. Bhakti Vinoda Pade Hare, Duhi Paradari. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Dive Daya Kori Sapashada Shri Adama Kahaya Batari. Kandiya, Kandiya bole, ami tuya dama. Kandiya, Kandiya bole, ami tuya dama. Shikhaye sharanagati puruhe utama. Shikhaye sharanagati puruhe utama. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Dive Daya Kori Sapashada Shri Adama Kahaya Batari. Kori Sahaya Translation. This is such a wonderful song. Bhaktivinoda Thakur has, in a very wonderful way, to give what is the mission of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He says, out of compassion for the fallen souls, Sri Krishna Chaitanya came to this world along with his personal associates, or parshadas, swaparshadas. And he also brought his divine abode. This dham, this means it's not different. Navadvip Dham, there's a Navadvip Dham in Goloka also. Nitya Navadvip, it's called. It's like when Krishna comes to this world, he brings his Dham, Vrindavan Dham. So it's not different from Goloka Vrindavan. But you have to have spiritual vision to see that. There's many things that kind of cover it. You know? But anyway, he came with his parshadas and his divine abode. Why did he come? To teach Sharanagati, which is surrender to God, the Almighty. That's one reason he came. Because Krishna, at the end of Bhagavad Gita, conclusion of Bhagavad Gita, he says, Sarva dharmam parityajya mamekam sharanam braja. Give up all your dharmas, all concocted dharmas, Hindu dharma, Muslim dharma, Christian dharma, Sarva Dharma, all dharmas. Because he is giving Paro Dharma. The highest dharma is to surrender to Krishna. Yeah. So Krishna demanded that, but then he left and nobody is doing it. So Krishna comes again to show how to do it. And by his teaching by example, this is the meaning of Acharya. So this is his Acharya Leela, where he comes to teach by example. He didn't write so many books. He had his followers, his disciples, they wrote books. Rupa Goswami, 6 Goswami. But Mahaprabhu, he was always teaching, always speaking to them, preaching. But Shikshastaka is the only thing that they say that he wrote. But even that, he spoke. In Caitanya-charitamrita, you see, he spoke it. But in everything is in that Shikshastaka. Everything. So, how to surrender? He has given the process, Sharanagati. So that was one of the reasons he came. Then another reason is to freely distribute prema, love of God, which is ordinarily very difficult to obtain. In a song by Lochan Das Thakur, he says, Nityananda was doing this also. They came together, Chaitanya and Nityananda. Said what he was giving, this prema, is ordinarily difficult for even great personalities like Lord Brahma to attain. It's such a high thing. But they were giving it out freely. They didn't discriminate who was a fit person, fit candidate or not. Jati danna vidya bala. Says Nityananda doesn't care about your birth. Yeah. In different parts of the world, people, they make a big deal about birth. Here in India, they make a big deal about it. But Nityananda Prabhu didn't care. Jati, Dhanna, Vidya, Bala. Didn't care about your birth, your money, your wealth, your education even. Those things are not so important. They're not important. What is your education? After spending so much years and money to go to the university, people come out and they don't know anything. They don't know anything important. They don't know who they are. Right? So what is the value of that kind of education? When I first came to the Krishna consciousness, Prabhupada used to speak so strongly. He used to call the universities and colleges, he said, slaughterhouses. Because they don't teach you nothing about the self, who you are, what to speak of, who is God, and what is your real identity. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu taught, Jive Swarupai Nitya Krishna Das. We are eternally servant of Krishna. And unless we come to that, we'll never be happy. When we come to fully realize that I am Krishna's servant. My only business is to please Him, to make Him happy. So, Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, this process of Sharanagati, this is the very life of a true devotee. Actual devotee. What does it mean to be a devotee? Not just tilak and neck beads and shaved heads and saris and bangles and That's not what it means in devotee. It's more than that. Nitai. So what are the ways of Sharanagati? He explains. There are six in number. The ways of Sharanagati are, number one is humility. Two, dedication of the self, to dedicate your life, yourself, your life. Acceptance of the Lord as your only maintainer. He's maintaining everyone. Prabhupada would say, who is maintaining the elephants in the jungles? They're big, they require 1 ton of food, so much food. He said, there's no organization to feed the elephants. Krishna is feeding them. So, he's our maintainer. You know? Then, faith that Krishna will surely protect me. Yeah, we must realize this. Faith, Krishna will, I've surrendered to him. He promises, Sarvadhamam Prijadam Mam Ekam Sharanam Braja. I'll protect you, don't worry. Have no fear. And then the last two is execution of those activities that are favorable. This is called anukul. Anukul. Favorable to pure devotion, and renunciation of conduct and activities that are adverse to pure devotion. That is pratikul. Anukul and pratikul. And then he says, Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, the youthful son of Nanda Maharaj, Sri Krishna, hears the prayers of anyone who takes shelter of him by this sixfold process. He takes care of the Sharanagatas. He hears their prayers. Then he says, I place a straw between my teeth. So Bhaktivinoda places a straw between his teeth and prostrates himself before the two Goswamis, Sri Rupa and Sri Sanatan. Clasping their feet with his hands, he says, I am certainly the lowest of men. Kondia kondia bole, amitu adham. Weeping and weeping, he says, I am certainly the lowest of men, but please make me the best of men by teaching me the ways of Sharanagati. So if we follow the Sharanagati, you can be all that you can be. Be all that you can be was a slogan that the military in America, they adopted this slogan. Join the army and be all that you can be. So we joined Lord Chaitanya's army. Sharanagati. So I said we could sing the other Sri Krishna Chaitanya. Prabhu, Doya Kora More, which is by Narottam Das Thakur. It was pointed out last time we were, yes.
The extra verse.
Yeah, Giri Govardhan was here, and afterwards he was looking at the song and he said, there's one verse that we don't sing. Why? I don't know, in all the temples, in our movement anyway, when I first got in touch with this song, they didn't include this verse by Narottam, but anyway, it was very nicely pointed out by Giri Govardhan Prabhu that the prayer glorifies Lord Chaitanya. It's a prayer. Lord Chaitanya first, then Nityananda Prabhu, then Advaita-charya Prabhu. And by leaving out this verse, it's like we ignore Gadadhar and Srivas. But this verse glorifies them. He said, and this is Panchatattva. So we're going to sing them. I've been itching to sing this verse.
Yeah.
Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Daya Koro More Tuma Bina Ke Dayalu Jagata Sansare Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Daya Koro More Tuma Bina Ke Dayalu Jagata Samsare Potito Pavana Hetu Abhayavatara Musama Potita Prabhu Napai Beara Musama Potita Prabhu Potita Pavana Hetu Abhayavatara Musamo Potita Prabhu Napai Beara Haha Prabhu Nityananda Premananda Sukhi Kripa Bolo Mana Koro Ami Boro Dukhi Haha Prabhu Nityananda Premananda Sukhi Kripa Bolo Pana Koro দয়া করো সীতা কাটি অদ্বৈত গোসাই তব কৃপা বলে পায় চৈতন্য নিতাই দয়া করো সীতা পাতি অদ্বৈত গোসাই তব কৃপা বলে পায় চৈতন্য নিতাই প্রেম মায়া থানু পণ্ডিত গদাধার শ্রীনিবাস হরিদাস দয়ার সগর শ্রীনিবাস হরিদাস গৌর প্রেম মায়া তনু পণ্ডিত গদাধার শ্রীনিবাস হরিদাস দয়ার সগর স্বরূপ সনাতন রূপ রঘুনাথ পথ যুগ শিব প্রভু লোকনাথ সনাতন রূপ রঘুনাথ পথ যুগ শিব প্রভু দয়া করো শ্রী আচার্য প্রভু শ্রীনিবাস রামচন্দ্র সঙ্গ মগে নরোত্তম দাস দয়া করো শ্রী আচার্য প্রভু শ্রীনিবাস রামচন্দ্র সঙ্গ মগে নরোত্তম দাস রামচন্দ্র সঙ্গ মগে কৃষ্ণ চৈতন্য প্রভু দয়া করো মোরে তোমা বিনতে দয়ালু জগত সংসারে তোমা বিনতে দয়ালু Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So this is a prayer Lotus feet of Lord Chaitanya. Narottam Das Thakur is teaching us how to pray. So first he prays to Lord Chaitanya. My dear Lord Chaitanya, please be merciful to me, because who can be more merciful than you? Within the three worlds, no one is more merciful than you. No other avatar, even. Sarva avatar, Sar Shiromani. He is the best. Avatar or Sar, Gora avatar, is the best. So why Narottam is saying like this? This is in line with what Rupa Goswami said. When Rupa Goswami met Lord Chaitanya Prayag, he composed a beautiful prayer. He was a scholar. And we all know this prayer. You can say it with me. Namo Mahabharanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namine Gaura Tise Namaha. He said, you are distributing, you're giving love of Krishna. Krishna Prema Pradayate. People don't even know who is Krishna, and you are giving them love of Krishna. That is, you are giving the highest thing to the most unqualified people. Therefore he says you are the most magnanimous person. If you give the best thing to the most qualified person, that is not magnanimity. But when you take the best thing and give it to the most unqualified, ooh, that's really magnanimous. So he says, your incarnation, Patito Pavana Hetu, your incarnation is just to reclaim the conditioned fallen souls. But let me tell you, let me assure you, you will not find a greater fallen person. You won't find anyone more fallen than me. Therefore, my claim is first. He says, you come to save the most fallen? Look no further, I am the most fallen. So, and then he goes to Lord Nityananda. Says, Haha Prabhu Nityananda Premananda Sukhi. My dear Lord Nityananda, you are always joyful in spiritual bliss. He was always happy. He never got angry. What's that song? Akroda Paramananda Nityananda Rai. Even if somebody beat him in the head with a clay pot, he didn't get angry. Right? Always in spiritual bliss. And since you always appear to be very happy, I am coming to you because I am most unhappy. But if you kindly put your glance over me, then I may also become happy. In the Chaitanya Bhagavat and others' writings, Nityananda Prabhu, when he came back to Bengal on the order of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to preach, he said that just by glancing at someone, just by looking at them, they develop love of God. So Narottam must have heard about this. He said, because he came after. Just by looking at, if something Nityananda Prabhu looks at you, that's it. Finished. So he says, just cast your glance over me. I may also become happy. Actually, great souls have this quality. If they look at you, if Prabhupada looked at you, looked into your eyes, that's it. You know you have to surrender. You don't have to tell you personally, but if he just look at you. I know one devotee, she said, she came to Krishna Balaram temple and Prabhupada was there. She wasn't an enlisted devotee, let's say. She hadn't joined. She was a guest. She was traveling across India. But Westerner, but in the company of devotees, she also got dressed like a devotee in saris, and tilak and everything. So she looked like a devotee. There's something to be said about the dress. You know? She said one time the president approached her and said, Mataji, I need someone to make up Prabhupada's bed. And she said, I'm not a devotee. And he said, "You look like a devotee, that's good enough for me." And she got the service to make Prabhupada's bed. He said, President said, "This isn't Krishna Balaram Mandir. The temple had recently been opened." And Prabhupada, after the opening, Prabhupada left. And then he came back to make sure that this temple was going to be managed properly. And he was like a inspector walking around with his cane and pointing. Why is that there? Well, and everywhere. He was like trying to shape them up. He didn't want this temple to become an embarrassment, because people already thought, these Westerners, them lechers. But Prabhupada wanted, no. He wanted it to show the public, when the pilgrims come, they'll see a first-class temple and everything clean and nice. So at that time, that president couldn't even get one devotee to make up Prabhupada's bed. You can't imagine. We would all jump for that opportunity. But he was asking and nobody wanted to do it. "I'm busy, Prabhu." But this is Prabhupada's bed. So she said, "Okay, I'll do it." And she got to do it for some time. And she said after some time, one day she went to class, and Prabhupada just looked at her. She never spoke to him, he never spoke to her. But she was sitting in class and his eyes, his glance, she said she got up and left the temple and went to her room and just bawled her eyes out, just crying. Had that effect. Shortly after that, she joined. So, he says, "You just kindly put your glance over me, and I may also become happy." Prabhupada would say, I'm turning the hippies into happies. Then he prays to Advaita Prabhu. "My dear Advaita Prabhu, husband of Sita, Sitapati." Sita Thakurani, she's a great devotee. So he's addressing Advaita as husband of Sita, as if Sita is she's the better half, right? Sita Thakurani. Say, "Husband of Sita, you are so kind, please be merciful to me. Because if you are kind to me, then naturally Lord Chaitanya Nityananda will also be kind to me." That's time, eh? Then he says, Gaura's love embodiment is shown by Gadadhar Pandit, Srivas Pandit and Haridas Thakur. They embodied the love of Lord Chaitanya. These three persons, Gadadhar, Srivas Thakur and Haridas Thakur. He said if you met them, it was like meeting Lord Chaitanya, because their heart was overflowing, they embodied the love of Lord Chaitanya. Then he prays after them he prays to, so he covers the Panchatattva. Then he prays to Swarup Damodar, who was the personal secretary of Lord Chaitanya. Then the 6 Goswamis, Bande Rupa Sanatana Raghu Yogo Sri Jiva Gopalaku. And then he prays to Lokanath Goswami, who was his spiritual master. He says, my beloved spiritual master, I pray to you and all these personalities for their mercy. And then the final verse he says, O Srinivas Acharya. Srinivas is different from Srivas Pandit. Sometimes they call him Srinivas Pandit. But it's two different people. So he says, Srinivasacharya was the successor, the next Acharya after the 6 Goswamis. So Narottam comes after that. So he says, please be merciful to me. And finally he says, I always desire the company of Ramchandra Chakravarti. Ramchandra Chakravarti was his friend. So devotees have friends also. Yes, you should make friends with devotees, make friendships with devotees. Srila Prabhupada had friends too. Amongst his godbrothers, he had a few friends. I like to say this because you may not know. One of Prabhupada's friends, I think probably his best friend, was Sridhar Maharaj. And Prabhupada asked him to come and live in his house. Prabhupada was a grihastha, Sridhar Maharaj was a sannyasi. And he lived in Prabhupada's house for 6 years. That means, who would you let come and live with you for 6 years? Only a close friend. So Prabhupada, in a comment on this song, he says, this is our process of Krishna consciousness. We pray to the Lord Chaitanya, Nityananda, Advaita, all the acharyas, our own spiritual master, and we keep company, make friendship with devotees. He said, then it would be easy to practice Krishna consciousness. Alone you cannot do it. Even in another song by Bhaktivinoda Thakur, O He Vaishnava Thakur, he says, Ekaki amar nahi pai bol harinam sankirtan. He says, without the devotee, alone, he says, alone I do not find the strength even to chant, to do sankirtan. Alone. It's true. Sometimes people leave the company, leave the association with devotees, and they go away, and for some time they'll keep chanting, and then suddenly they hang up the bead bag. But if you keep company, then devotees will remind you. They'll remind you. Okay, so time is up. Today's Saturday? Yeah. So tomorrow there's Sunday feast on the 4th floor at Prabhu and his good wife Naradevi. That's at 11 o'clock. So, you're all invited to come. Who is speaking tomorrow? Oh, Madhavananda. So, don't, if you don't have anything better to do, what is better than to go and have satsang with devotees, hear and chant, hear Krishna Katha, and honor some nice Bhagavad Prasad. So, thank you all. Hari Bol. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
божества, покажу преданным. Смотрите, преданные, какие божества. Просто космос. Даршан.
Надо, получается, не в 11 часов, а уже в 10. Нужно раньше. Тогда не нужно ничего записывать. Или я могу, конечно, писать. Писать, и тогда я не буду уже так сильно волноваться, что не успеваю и так далее. Понимаете?
Еще здесь маленький алтарь красивый. Здесь Махадев, Шри Прабхупада, Гопал, Ганат, Баладев, Субхадра.
Not for your exam.
The next big thing. Come on.
You're from here.
Haribol, thank you for everyone.